Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Rama Rama Radha Gopinath Radha Gopinath Radha Gopinath Gaura Nityananda Jaya Gaura Nityananda Jaya Gaura Nityananda Jaya Gaura Nityananda Jaya जी महाराज की जय। साई गौर प्रेमानंदी हरि हरि बोल। ओम ज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयरूपं कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतापतिकमलं श्रीगुरुवैष्णवांश श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं साग्ररघुनाथान्वितं त्वं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पदान् सहगणललिता श्री विशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्ण करुण सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपिश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते। तप्त कंचना गौरंगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। पंचकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितनाम पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंदा। ओम हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। ओम हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। शृण्वतं स्वाकथा कृष्ण पुण्यश्रवणकीर्तनः Hridayantah stohi abhadrani vidhanati sarasatam Nashtaprasa abhadresu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama sloke bhaktir bhavati naistiki Krishnaya vasudevaya devaki nandanaya cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna. So, welcome to Sunday Feast virtual class. My name Anand Rupdas, and I will try to speak on very beautiful pastime mentioned in Canto 10, chapter 23. The topic of today's discussion is the Brahmana's wife blessed. But before we start, I would like to recite a couple of shlokas that will lead on to today's topic. So the first verse is from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4:7. Ida ida hi dharmasya glane bhavati bharataha abhyuthanam adharmasya tadatmanam sajamaham. This is very important verse because today's class is going to be based on something like this, because Canto 10 is one of the most glorious cantos, and because all the pastime that Krishna did are in Canto 10. So why did I read this verse is because whenever there is loss of dharma, Krishna comes to clear the air. So in Canto 10, there are various pastimes. In different chapters, Krishna has killed different demons, and Bhagwan has also blessed a lot of different personalities. So it's very important to understand that why Canto 10 is the most glorious canto, and why Krishna book or Canto 10 is the nectar of Srimad Bhagavatam. So starting with chapter 23, the Brahmana's wife, I hope from this chapter's summary that we'll try to present today in the best simplified way, you'll be able to understand why this canto is relished the most by all the devotees. So in the beginning of this pastime, Gopas are asking Bhagwan. Sri Gopa Uvacha Ram Ram Mahabaho Krishna Dushta Nirbarahana Esa Vai Padate Kshunnas Tachantim Kartum Arhatam. So in this verse, the Gopas are asking, O Rama Rama, O mighty armed one, O Krishna, chastiser of the wicked, we are being harassed by hunger. You should do something about it. So the pastime begins by Gopas actually asking and requesting Krishna to do something about their hunger. Although Krishna has killed a lot of demons in past, so they were chastising Bhagwan by asking, can you kill our hunger as well? So in that response, then Bhagwan instructs the cowherd boys to go to a near place in Vrindavan and ask for Brāhmaṇas for some food. So actually this place is still in Vrindavan. It's near Yamuna Devi, and the name of this place is the temple is called Sri Bhatraud Bihari Temple. It's at Yamuna. It's 1 kilometer from Yamuna. It's on a hill. So whenever you go to Vrindavan, make sure you visit the temple. This is where this pastime took place. So hopefully, when you understand this pastime, you'll be able to connect with the deity there straight away. So the reason why it is called Sri Bhatraud Mandir, it's because Bhat in Sanskrit means rice. That's what Krishna sent cowherd boys to get, rice. So Bhatraud temple, the personality who eats rice. So there you will get prasad of curd and rice, like a khichdi you'll get if you ever visited there. So Krishna says to cowherd boys that nearby that place, some Brahmanas are performing yajna. So why don't you go and tell them that Ram and Krishna are there. So Ram is short for Balram. They said, Balram and Krishna has come. Please arrange for some food. So cowherd boys went there and they see a setup. Brahmanas are performing the yagyas and all the decoration is nice. Everything is very elaborate because back in the days, everything was up to the highest perfection, highest standard. So all the upkars, all the traditions were followed, and the yagya mandal and all the decorations, all the paraphernalia was there. And so when cowherd boys reached there, they begged the Brahmanas. So you have to understand one thing, Brahmanas are very dear to the Lord. So in Purusha Shukta Homa, in Purusha Shukta prayers, this is actually from Rig Ved, and in Purusha Shukta prayers, one of the verses says, Brahmano asya mukham asid, bahu rajanya kritaha, uru tadya sad vaishyaha, padya gum shudro ajayatha. So in this verse, Bhagwan is saying the Brahmans are my face. That's how Purusha Shukta prayers are. Purusha Shukta defines the universal form of the Lord. So Bhagwan is saying that Brahmanyo asya mukham asid, bahu rajanya kritaha, uru tadya sad vaishyaha, padyagum shudro ajayatha. So he's defining his body parts by saying that his head is Brahmana and his arms are Kshatriya and his thighs and his lower limbs are Vaishya and Shudra. So that's why Krishna instructed cowherd boys to beg the Brahmanas. So we have to understand the position of Brahmanas and how nicely Krishna is instructing cowherd boys. So when now cowherd boys are there, Gopas are there and they are begging. They're saying, oh, twice born Sankarshan and Krishna are here and they've asked me to ask you to give some offering or prepare some food. So Brahmanas are looking at them and they are saying, okay, yes, you want some food, but we are here performing yajna. And they were performing the sacrifice. They continued doing that and they ignored the Gopas as if they didn't exist. So Gopas at that time, they got sad and they came back to Krishna and Sankarsana and they said, hey Ram, hey Krishna, we are very sorry to tell you that they didn't give anything. They didn't donate anything. So before we jump on to the next story, there's another thing that I want to tell you about Brahmanas performing the yajna. So in the last verse of Purusha Shukta, Rig Ved prayers, it says, Yajnamaya janta deva tani dharmani prathamana sanna teha naka mahimana sachante yatra purva santi devaha. It means Yajnamaya janta devaha. That means that although you're performing the yajna, although you're performing the sacrifice, but the main receiver of that sacrifice is Krishna itself. So now we have to understand this. Although they were performing a yajna called Angirasa, and Angirasa yajna is performed to gain promotion to heavenly planet. But they foolishly ignored the fact that the personality of Godhead is here himself, and he's asking for some sacrifice, some yajna. Rather than asking demigods for it, why don't you give it to Krishna himself? So we have to understand when you perform a yajna or when you do any sort of sacrifice, even if you're doing your chanting, even if you're offering physical food to Krishna, the main receiver is always Krishna. So even though some people who are non-devotees, they will do some yajna, thinking that they can please a demigod or they can please some goddess. But they have to understand that the main receiver is Bhagwan itself. Let me give you an analogy. For example, you take some water from the river and you offer the water back to the river and you feel blessed. But hang on, what is going on here? You're taking the water from river and you're giving back to river. So how is that? You're not doing anything. So that's how we have to understand that the main receiver is Bhagwan, Krishna itself. So there is a pastime in Srimad Bhagavatam, again in Canto 10, where Bhagwan, he drinks the fire. So when you light the fire in Yajna Kund, that fire is the mouth of Krishna. So when you offer something, it goes straight into Bhagwan. So next time, whenever you're performing a yajna or a sacrifice, make sure you offer with love and devotion, not just throw it in the pit. That, oh, swaha, don't do that. So coming back to the topic, so they were performing Angirasa sacrifice to gain promotion to heaven, but they ignored Krishna himself. So anyway, so when cowherd boys got sad and they came and they delivered the news to the Lord laughed it out. Bhagwan said, no worries. Now what I want you to do is, I want you to go back there, but this time don't go to the Brāhmaṇas, go to Brāhmaṇas' wives instead. And here Srila Prabhupada mentions in his purport that when he requests cowherd boys to go back again, he says, don't ask them for, don't tell them for food, don't ask them for food. Just tell them that Sankarshana and Krishna are here. And why is that? Prabhupada explains that, not Prabhupada, sorry, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains. He says that Krishna didn't want to give distress to the mothers. He didn't want to distress the wives. That if they know that Krishna is hungry and is asking for food, they will start gathering everything, they'll start preparing bhogas and they'll start doing a lot of things. So he just wanted to let them know that Krishna and Rama are here. Please do something. And then automatically, because of motherly nature, they'll do something. They'll bring some bhoga. So then they went again. So now Gopas are going back again. Sorry, I'm using the word Gopas because cowherd boys means Gopas, just to let you know. So cowherd boy, Gopas, they went again to the wives and they said, hey mothers, we are here sent by Sankarshana and Krishna. They are here. Please do something. So wives, another point that I will mention in a minute is very, very important. I think this point sums the whole story up. And it will hopefully tell you the difference between the Brahmanas performing yagyas and the difference in wives' mood. So what happens is, so then they gather rice, sabjis, they take some curd, they take 4 or 5 things, and they run towards Krishna and Sankarshana. And now they're feeding Krishna. And now when Krishna receives the wives, he's like, so what can I do for you? Tell me, please. So now wives are saying that we have heard so much about you. We were eager to see you. Now finally you are here. We've left our father, our husbands, our brothers, our sons, all the worldly material connections behind us without worrying what's going to happen. And we are here to see you. Now we can't go back. You have to do something. And then they also remind him that where is your promise that you always promise that whoever is coming to your lotus feet, you will accept them as it is. You will not ask them questions. Now you're asking us, what can I do for you? Well, this is what I want. We want to serve you. We want to serve your lotus feet. This is what we want. And we don't want to go back to the worldly connections. So now Bhagwan says to them and requests them, I'm sorry, but you have to go back. Now there's a dilemma. Do we go back? If we go back, Brahmanas will not accept us because that's not being chaste. And if you were to say Krishna is not accepting us, so what do? We don't belong in our house. We don't belong in Krishna. Where do we belong? So it's a very tricky situation. But thing that I want to point out was that Brahmana's wife, they heard the glories of Krishna. They heard the pastimes of Krishna. And the emotion and the bhav that they had was so overwhelming that they didn't think about any material desires. They didn't think about their connection with the husband. They didn't think about anything. They just left everything for Krishna and they ran to Krishna. So here, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam is so important because they heard everything through their ears. And what happened then? They had that desire that we want to see Krishna, we want to meet Krishna. So they were actually thinking about Krishna a lot more than the husband were. So that means although they're performing yajna, they are trying to please demigods or Bhagwan, but they are not able to because there's no Shravanam. But whereas wives have done a lot of Shravanam and Kirtanam, and they've also done Vishnu Smaranam. Smaranam means remembrance. And now when Bhagwan has finally come to their door, he's accepting them with both hands. So it's very important that we have to understand how important it is to hear. And this month of Purushottam is so glorified that we get extra time and extra benefit. And this is the perfect time to hear more. Since we can't go to temples, we can't go to classes, we can't meet anyone. The best is to put earphones in and put some class on. And I think although this virus has come in blessing in disguise where you can practice your bhakti nicely, you can charge your batteries, and then when the temples do open, you can show your enthusiasm properly. So coming back to the topic, the importance was Shravanam. So hearing and chanting is very, very important. This is a hidden meaning behind the story. And then moving on to the next part. So now Krishna has asked them, instructed the wives to go back to the Brahmanas. So this is a very fine example of being chaste. So back in the days, the wives were not allowed to meet or leave their house without permission or without their husbands. So if the husbands have gone out somewhere, the wives will not leave. That's a grihastha dharma. And that dharma has to be followed. But nowadays, given the time and place that we are, it's not the same story. So once you leave the house, the man or the husband will not accept you back. That's what dharma says in the scriptures. So that's what the wives are worried about. But Krishna reassures them. He says, the moment you go back, I will personally tell them everything and everything will be back to normal. You don't have to worry about anything. But yes, if you still want to please me or achieve me, then Prabhupada here mentions that, let me point out the exact verse. Then you can also, give me 1 second. Right, there you are. This is a very important verse, Shloka, text 32 in Canto 10. It says, Bhagwan is saying, for you to remain in my bodily association would certainly not please people in the world, nor would it be best way for you to increase your love for me. Rather, you should fix your mind on me and very soon you'll achieve me. Smaranam, he's saying, do Vishnu Smaranam and you will achieve me. So in the next verse, he's also saying, it is by hearing about me, seeing my deity form, and meditating upon me, and chanting my names and glories that love for me develops, not by physical proximity. Therefore, please go back to your homes. So Bhagwan has now instructed the wives to return to the place of sacrifice, where the Brahmanas are doing yajna. So the Brahmanas did not find any faults in their wives, and together they finished the sacrifice. And now there was one of the ladies who were forcibly kept by one of the Brahmanas. He did not allow him to go and meet Krishna. He said no, and she didn't go. So when she heard all about what happened and the exchange between the other Brahmin wives and the Bhagwan, she embraced within her heart the form of Krishna, and she gave up her body. Imagine the level of sacrifice that Brahmana's wife has, and the love and immense separation that she felt easier to give her body. So, although Bhagwan was appearing like a human being, but doesn't mean that he is an ordinary being. Like I said in beginning in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, verse 7, Yada Yada Hi Dharmasya, that Bhagwan will come to earth to do his duties, to vanish the evil, but doesn't mean that we should mistake him by an ordinary human being. He is not an ordinary human being. He has come just to help us out. 500 years ago, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came just to deliver us, just to help us, just to make sure that there is still some dharma on this planet Earth, so that people don't forget Krishna. So, like that, when Brahmanas, when they came to their senses, they began to feel great remorse. They cursed themselves. They said, we have committed a sin. We have committed a great mistake, and we don't know how to rectify it. So they said, although we are twice born, we don't care about that anymore. Although we are Brahmanas, we are supposed to be the gurus of the society, but to hell with that. What's the point of that? There's no point, because we've just disregarded the Bhagwan who came and asked for some offering. And here we are trying to please the demigods just to get some place in heaven. So this is very, very important realization that Brahmanas have had, that Supreme Personality of Godhead is only one. It is Krishna, no one else. So now this pastime then comes to an end by Brahmanas realizing about their mistake and how they can be forgiven by the Lord. But again, but you have to also understand that Bhagwan resides in everyone's heart. He knows what's wrong and what's right, and he guides you personally. So we have to be we have to listen to him. We have to listen to so-called gut feeling. It's not a gut feeling, it's Paramatma speaking within you. It's the Vishnu residing in your heart, guiding you through like a light. So in one of the class, I heard that that sound that Vishnu makes from within your heart is so silent, but yet so loud. Although it's very silent, but it's very loud at the same time, because you get this strong, like a loud saying that this is the right thing to do. Do it, do it, do it. But at the same time, you can't express that because no one heard it. People might think that you're mad, but hang on, you're not mad. You're listening to your Paramatma. And listening to your Paramatma can be very hard, can be very tricky. It's not an easy thing to do. It's very advanced level of bhakti. But reading about Bhagwan and listening from the right authoritative sources from our Guru Paramparas and our Gurus who are present in this world, we can take this opportunity to understand what Krishna is. He's not an ordinary soul. He's not an ordinary man who just came to the world and did some pastime, killed some asuras, and he just went back. For a 6-year-old boy to kill a big demon like Putna, it's not an ordinary thing. My Guru Maharaj always says in that in his lectures that a lot of non-devotees they often say that Bhagwan is Nirakar. Bhagwan has got no roop. Bhagwan has got no form. Hare, how is that possible? We're just reciting Rig Veda here, and the first line of Rig Veda says Sahasra Shirisha Purukha Sahasra Shirisha Pat Sa Bhumim Vishwato Vritva Athyatishta Dashangulum. It says Sahasra Shirisha. Sahasra Shirisha means the one who has got thousands and thousands of heads, he's got thousands and thousands of eyes, thousands and thousands of legs, arms. So how can he be formless? When our scriptures clearly tell you that Bhagwan is bluish black looking boy. When he says something, it sounds like thousands of thunders are clapping at one time. So imagine that's the power of Bhagwan. And yet we often miss him on everyday basis. We take everything for granted. That's human nature. We get free air, we get free water, we get free food, but yet we don't appreciate that. That's our misfortune, that we cannot relate to that. That, oh, this water, oh, it's taste of Krishna. Oh, this air that I get outside, oh, it's Krishna. If that wasn't for that, or if you had to pay tax for that, imagine how much years worth of tax you would have to repay to Bhagwan. There's a lot of tax to pay. So we have to be very careful how we deal with Krishna, how we deal with the holy name, how we chant and how we listen, how we pay our respects to Bhagwan. Although the Brāhmaṇas here in the story, they had to learn the hard way. Although yes, you can do yagyas, you can do sacrifices, you can do this, you can do that, but the best sacrifice for this day and age is only chanting. There is no other way to go back to Godhead. And I think Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has made this process very simple for us, that we take everything for granted. Oh, it's only Hare Krishna Mahamantra, no problem. We'll chant. We are very lucky to be able to utter the word Krishna. We are very fortunate to do so. I don't think we realize how fortunate we are. It has taken us thousands and thousands of lifetimes just to achieve this. It has taken us billions and millions of bodies, and there must be some sort of little sukriti left in our past lives, or someone must have blessed us for us to realize Supreme Personality of Godhead. We are very lucky to have Prabhupada and take his shelter and take his wonderful disciples' shelter, that we are here in this country where when once Prabhupada was asked, Prabhupada, how is hell? Can you define that? He said, Baba, you're living in hell. What else do you want? You're living in America and you're chanting Bhagwan. What else can you do? You can't do anything else. So you're doing best. Even if you are in a situation like this, just chant, nothing else. So although we are living in the Paschat countries, Western countries, but we are very lucky that that Hare Krishna Mahamantra is available to us by ISKCON. Otherwise, this wouldn't have been possible if Prabhupada didn't take that step years ago. And he didn't take his guru's instructions by heart. And if that wouldn't have happened, Anand Rup Das, Gaur Raj Prabhu, nothing would have been happened. This is Prabhupada's mercy, that it is flowing through the world, and it is going and is taking people by grace. I think it takes a lot to realize this, and it takes a lot to put that realization into your sadhana, into your chanting, into your reading, and to realize that how lucky we are that we've got Archa Vigraha in our houses, and we can please and we can offer food to Krishna every day. We can eat that food, and we can live the life that one always imagined. Sometimes people ask me, oh, being devotee, you have to do so much, you have to sacrifice so much. And to my reply to them is, do not sacrifice on an everyday basis. You sacrifice for your wife, she demands this, your kids, they demand that. So rather than being a slave of or being a servant to them, why don't you become a servant of the Lord, who doesn't demand a lot, who only demands to sacrifice few things for eating, but in return he'll give you his abode. What else do you want? Do you want to be happy temporarily, or do you want to be happy permanently? There's a lot at stake. And few days back, I gave a Bhagavad Gita to this young fellow who came to the restaurant, and they were asking, what is about this book? We have heard a lot about this Bhagavad Gita. What can this do? I was like, see, I challenged this 9 years ago and look at me now. And so I said exactly the same things to my brother. I said, Bhagavad Gita, what can this do? And then now this is what I am. So I said, by a very simple explanation, what I explained was Bhagavad Gita is the manual to live your life. As simple as anything. You buy a mobile phone, you get a manual. And you get a life, you get Bhagavad Gita. As simple as anything. Then I also challenged them. I said, any question that you have, Bhagavad Gita can solve this. You open any page, anything, any verse, I can guarantee you that this will solve your problem. They were actually quite surprised that, wow, he's taking that much guarantee. So they bought a couple of books and it was very nice exchange. Again, coming back to the realization that if that wasn't because of Prabhupada, this chanting, this Vishnu Smaranam wouldn't have been possible at all. So we should be very, very thankful that we can actually chant the name of the Lord, and we can also hear his glories from various different sources, but authorized sources. That is important, because these days there are a lot of people who are, although they are sadhus, but they're not sadhus in the real world. So we have to be very careful, and we have to be very, very intelligent in choosing who we choose to follow. It can lead to a destruction, a mass destruction, if you were to choose something that is not wise. So rather than choosing just Bhagavad Gita, choose Bhagavad Gita as it is, because it is the right source. It is the right source, it's the right translation, because no one else can claim as it is. Only Prabhupada can do, because he was authorized source. And I mean, the easiest way to check is just go back to his guru, then his guru, then his guru, and you know it goes back to Krishna. Then at least you know that this is the right source. So be very, very careful and be very, very wise. But any questions or any comments, I would be happy to take on. Hare Krishna.
Hare Bol, Hare Krishna, Prabhu, wonderful. Let's see if anybody has got any comments. I will also look at the YouTube just to see if anybody has made any comments. There quite a few people watching on YouTube as well. So they might be taking a little time to say something, but let me say that's a wonderful class. So many nice instructions. Sumathura Radhika Mataji, yes, wonderful class. Mataji says, as always, so thanks for that wonderful lecture. So many wonderful points, but I took one for myself. You know, I always make notes, whoever give classes. So one point really touched my heart was that you mentioned that, you know, it must have taken millions and billions of lives for us to come to this stage, to come to the shelter of Srila Prabhupada, to come to the shelter of Guru and Gauranga. And you know, we should make that opportunity, make best use of that opportunity.
Absolutely.
So that really touched my heart. Like, you know, like different people take different things, but I took that point. So many other wonderful points. Yes, you know, we think everything, you know, as granted, as you said, but you know, we should make best use of this this wonderful opportunity. Thank you. You're doing a wonderful service of distributing prasadam, and at the same time try and give some books out. That's the best way. You know, wonderful. You know, you shared a nice story. I think I'm sure you must be in touch with Madhav Kumar Prabhu with
yes,
books and
absolutely.
everything.
Yes.
This is very good, like, you know, prasadam and books. Wonderful way of preaching. Thank you for narrating this wonderful pastime, Prabhu. Thank you very much.
Thank you for letting me speak. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. So His Grace Anandru Prabhu ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaura Premanandi, Hare
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next week. Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you.
Thank you.